Whenever I go to a conference, I make it a point to be intentional about establishing deep relationships. In fact, I go with the intention of having at least 10 deep, meaningful conversations. And this has shifted in what it's looked like over the years. But the idea is if I go to an event, which there's a lot of time, effort, and energy that is invested in taking time away from my business, traveling to another place, preparing to speak, doing all of the things. And ideally, what I would love is if I could get a return on investment where it might be possible, where I pick up a handful of new clients, getting a financial return on all of that investment. There are many other returns on investments that are not necessarily tied to finances, but from a bottom line financial ROI, I do have a strategic plan that I put into place. Now, if you are new to my content, I will share with you that one of the books that has been the most impactful for me in the last decade has been the book, The Prosperous Coach by Steve Chandler and Rich Litvin. In fact, I created an entire podcast, a short series podcast called Cliff's Notes on Profitable Coaching, which you can find over at notesoncoaching.com, by the way, where I talk about my discovery of the Prosperous Coach Method for creating clients and also my experience the first few months of incorporating and beginning the mastery of that 4-step process. Real quickly, I'll share with you what that looks like. It's basically connecting with someone, whether you've known them before or not, or if it's somebody brand new that you've just met. And the idea is to connect and be curious. Who is this person? What's going on in their world? What are they creating? What is it that's currently standing in the way of whatever they're trying to create next? And I'm looking to discern a couple of things. And discernment is a key word that I am applying to step 1 of 4 in the Prosperous Coach Method for creating clients. And step 1, connecting, is that discerning. And here's what I'm looking to discern. I'm looking to discern, is this person experiencing something that is in pure alignment with exactly the type of coaching that I do in the world? Would a conversation with me help this person gain momentum where they're currently stuck, or would it help them get much further exponentially faster than if they were to go it alone and not have the conversation? Is there something of value that I could bring to this person? That's a key discernment thing that I'm looking for. I'm also discerning other things, such as, is this person within the psychographics of what I'm looking for? Obviously, I can discern the demographics, and I think we all do that when we're connecting in a professional way. Is this person my exact ideal client as far as the niche that they filter into? So, for example, I tend to work with people who are business owners or on the entrepreneurial path. I lean towards established entrepreneurs, but I also work with early stage entrepreneurs who are trying to figure out that path to consistent profitability, sustainability, specifically doing work that they love doing, they feel called to do, that is of high service to others. These are demographics, right? Where the psychographics come in is this person coachable? Are they able to have a conversation and come to their own insights and immediately sense and feel how that insight is going to shift their future just because now they realize they'll never be able to go back to looking at the world the same way that they did before that insight came to them? There's a bunch of other psychographics that I look for, people who are solution focused rather than problem focused, and all sorts of other things on the mindset side of things. But what I'm looking for is I'm looking to discern who are the people that cross my path that fits the demographic, the psychographic, and are basically sharing in some way, shape, or form. I'm intuiting through our connection that they've got something going on where I know or believe that my coaching could serve them at a deep level. That is step one of the Prosperous Coach. The next step is invitation. And it's very simple. It's saying, hey, this is exactly the type of coaching that I do. You state that you want to fill in the blank of their desired outcome. You currently state that the problem, the obstacle, the hurdle that you're currently facing is fill in the blank. These are all things that they have shared with me. And I have a history of helping people overcome that exact thing. And I would love to offer you as my gift a full-blown experience of the coaching that I do. No strings attached, no expectation, no obligation that you become a paid client. Would you be interested in that? And if they say yes, we move into step 3 of 4 in the Prosperous Coach Method for creating clients. That third step is called create. This isn't a discovery call. This isn't me trying to sell them a program or even try to figure out how I can get them to be a client in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it is a continuation of the discernment process. I've had a strong sense that there is enough discernment that has taken place that it would be valuable for me to invest my time, effort, and energy bringing them into a complimentary coaching session to see if my coaching could be of value based upon their desired outcome and what they're currently facing and my own level of experience with the type of people I help and the examples and experiences that I've had with prior people with similar situations. And so I bring them in and I give them a full experience of my coaching, a full-blown coaching experience that is no different than my highest paid coaching client. Now, what I will say is my favorite quote from the book, The Prosperous Coach, is that when you are in the create phase, there's really one main objective. It's not to impress them with how much I know, how skilled I am as a coach. It's not trying to convince them that my products and or services that I have to offer are worthy of their investment. The main thing that I'm looking to do when I get into a coaching conversation is simply to serve them so powerfully that they will never forget that conversation for the rest of their life. Now, it's not because they're like super impressed with how I showed up and the kinds of questions. No, they're never going to forget it because they had such a visceral shift in their identity, a significant shift in the way they believe in what is possible or their worthiness or fill in the blank. It is a massive shift, one where it's like, oh my gosh, I can tell right now, I will remember the date on the calendar when this took place. Not this coaching call with Cliff, but this shift in my identity, this significant transformation in the way that I'm perceiving myself, my dream, my world, everything. So what I'll do is give them that experience. Usually at the end of that conversation, I'm asking myself this question: do I discern that this person is a potential client? If the answer to that question is yes, I may invite them to a second complimentary coaching experience. And so when I do that, I'm looking to see, at the end of our first call, I asked them what insight or insights they got from the conversation. I asked them what actions they knew that they needed to take over the next 2 weeks as a result of that insight or those insights. And then I asked them if they were willing to commit to taking those actions over the next 2 weeks. And so what I'm looking for in a second, and by the way, complimentary coaching experience, once again, as a gift, once again, with no strings attached, once again, with no expectation, no obligation that they ever become a paid client. But what I'm looking for is, did the insight that led to the clarity of the next actions for them to take, did it have such an impact that it created movement or created momentum, that they moved forward in ways that would not have taken place had we not had that first conversation? And by the end of the first 5 to 10 minutes of that second conversation, I know a lot about whether or not the type of coaching that I do would be beneficial to that individual. And that will lead me to discern whether or not at the end of the second conversation, I'll move into step 4 of the Prosperous Coach Method for creating clients, which is to propose. And I'll share with you what that looks like in just a moment. But I will say this, I don't always invite everyone I connect with. I do not always invite everyone I do a first complimentary coaching session into a second complimentary coaching session. And I don't always propose to someone that I've brought into 2 different complimentary coaching experiences. You see, this whole process is a discernment process. And before I used the Prosperous Coach Method for creating clients, I used to create lots of content. I used to show up in lots of spaces. I wanted to meet as many people as possible. I would get onto a call with whoever resonated. And then I never called them discovery calls, but I would get on a call and talk about the products and services that I had. I'd ask a little bit about them. Do you have any questions for me? And I'd make some sort of call to action, a proposal. That's how I used to do things. And then let them decide, for the most part, do they feel that what I have just told them about, would it be valuable enough that they're willing to invest in what it is that I'm proposing? And what has shifted since I moved to the Prosperous Coach Method is I already know whether or not it would be valuable for them. And in the cases where there is no indicator that there's movement or momentum, I don't make the proposal. I only work with those who have already demonstrated that they get tremendous value with me, with working with me, with having a conversation or conversations with me. So where I used to say, hey, wait a second, I need to show up in such a way so that I can convince them that that what I have to offer is worthy of their investment. In many ways, what I'm doing is when I bring somebody through the Prosperous Coach Method, I'm asking myself if I'm committed to showing up as a mentor, a mastermind group facilitator, or a one-on-one coach for this individual. I'm looking to invest a lot of time, effort, and energy into this relationship with this individual. And is there enough here that says I will get a return on investment of saying, you know what, I only have a certain number of slots to work with mastermind group members and or one-on-one coaching clients. And I want to make sure I'm working with people who take action, who get results, who not only get insights, but take those actions. That's what I'm looking for. And so many ways, what I'm doing is I'm auditioning, is this person a good fit for the type of coaching that I do? Not the other way around like it used to be, where I would propose to people and they're like, do I feel that Cliff and his coaching is a good investment of my time, my effort, my energy? And the great news is that while I have shifted this all the way around to the other side, when I do propose to somebody, then they already have had an experience of my coaching. I didn't sit down and have a sales pitch and give them some sort of idea of what my coaching is like and some sort of theoretical understanding of what this could be and what I've given them at that point, before I have even made a proposal that we work together. They already have had 2 full-blown, nothing held back experiences of what it would be like if you were one of my highest paid clients. The simple question is, would you like more of that? And in fact, I'll share with you at the end of a second complimentary coaching session, usually about 20 minutes before the end of that 90-minute session, I will say, hey, what insights and what actions do you know that you need to take now? And I would confirm that they're willing to commit to taking those. And if everything is feeling wonderfully aligned and there's momentum in the right direction, and it seems like, this I feel like I've discerned this properly, then I will move to that step 4. And here's what it sounds like. I say, hey, I want to remind you that 2 weeks ago, when I invited you into that first session, it was my gift to you, no strings attached. And just like today, this is also my gift to you. There's no expectation, no obligation that you'll ever become a paid client. I know that you know that. We've covered it more than once. And so I have one question to ask you, though. It's a yes or no question. And if you say no, I'm totally fine. Would you be interested in what it would look like if you and I were to have a paid, ongoing relationship where we could continue to have this kind of experience, these kind of insights, where you would get this level of clarity about what to do next, and you would feel as motivated and inspired to take consistent action so you can show up in the next environment and say, here's the progress I've made, and we could evaluate it. Would you like to have a conversation about what it would look like for you and I to have more of that together moving forward? So far, I've done this hundreds of times, and all but 2 people have said yes to that question. And once they say yes to that, I then talk to them about the proposal, whether it's my mastermind group or one-on-one or a paid workshop or whatever the thing is that I feel would be the best thing to serve them along the lines of what and alignment with what I'm actually creating these days. And then I will share with them the price on that. And once I've shared the price, I will paint the possibility. I will speak to them about what it is that they've stated is their desired outcome. And I will pinpoint the various ways we have taking significant, massive steps forward towards that desired outcome. And I will break it down into how we will continue that working forward in this environment moving forward. And then I simply ask them, would you like to move forward with this? And it's either a yes or a no there. And so far, my experience has been 50% say yes and 50% say not right now. I really wish I could, but for X number of reasons, I can't. So that's the Prosperous Coach Method for creating clients. If you want to hear more about that, I would encourage you to read the book, The Prosperous Coach by Rich Lidfin and Steve Chandler. And I'd also encourage you to check out my podcast over at notesonradio.com. Anyway, when I go to conferences, I go with the intention of I want to establish deep enough relationships where I discern at least 10 people that I would be interested in inviting into a complimentary coaching experience with me. And so when I'm looking and when I'm walking through the hallways or after I get finished speaking and I'm standing out in the hallway and I have people after my talk, sharing what their thoughts were, asking their questions, and I have conversations with them, I'm discerning, is this person somebody I should invite? Is this person somebody I should invite? And not everyone is. In fact, it's very few out of all the people that I speak to, but I'm looking for who are those 5 to 10, 7 to 10, sometimes more, but usually right around 10 people over the course of the few days of this conference. And I invite them. Some of them are scheduled right there on the spot. We choose a date and time and get them on the calendar. The rest of them, I'm texting them and or emailing them over the next day or two or the next week or two. But we pretty much take immediate action on this. Now, I want to share with you a couple of other things. There are some times when I connect with people and there isn't that immediate discernment that this is somebody that I feel right now could really benefit from the coaching that I do. But we are establishing a new relationship. And many times those new relationships will evolve into something deeper in the days, weeks, months, and sometimes years ahead. And those conversations, those connections, while they don't go straight into an invite, step 2, they stay in that connecting phase. And I have lots of people. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready in 3 weeks from now to head out to Social Media Marketing World in Anaheim, California. And I anticipate that I will probably add at least 50 and as many as 100 people into the connecting phase. These will be relatively new relationships with people who, out of, let's just say if there were 100, let's just say that 10 of them will go into the invite phase within the next, well, let's just say within 20 minutes of meeting them all the way up to within, let's just say, 2 weeks of meeting them. At least 10 of them, I would say, are going to be brought into a step 2 invite phase, and then step 3, the create, where I have 2 coaching experiences with them. But out of those other 90 people, I would say maybe about 25 to 30 of those people will eventually share enough about what's going on to their world that will reveal that there's enough alignment there that it makes sense for me to also invite them as well. Those could be several weeks away, or maybe even several months away before anything in our connecting conversations via email, via DM, via me being interviewed on their podcast, or me interviewing them on my podcast, or any other various means of connecting calls. So, or connecting avenues. But that's what I'm going for. Now, to be able to manage so many connections, there has to be a system. And I'm going to tell you right now, I do not any longer. It has been years since I have gone to a conference and handed somebody a business card. In fact, one of the philosophies that I have today, and it's interesting as I say it, it's like, oh man, do I really believe that? And I'm like, I've said it so many times, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to tell you, I still believe it. If you and I have met and you feel a deep desire for us to continue to connect and engage, if we can't figure out a way for you and I to continue this relationship that has been established without a business card, then I don't think there's much here in this potential relationship. Now, I thought maybe, just maybe, when I went to PodFest Expo, that I might shift my mind on that. And in fact, I went to PodFest Expo, and it was the very first time I did not do PodFest Expo January 2026 is what I'm talking about, just a couple of months ago. It was the first time that I did not use the particular networking, note-taking method that I'm going to share in this episode. And yes, I have shared this several times over the last 20 years, but man, I really wish I would have done this back in January. I'm going to explain it to you in just a moment, but I'm going to explain to you what happened without it. So back in January, I connected probably with over 100 people that I'd never met before, where I'd like to continue the conversation. Now, thankfully, there are about 8 or 9 people that I met back in January that I have connected with. Invitations had gone out and things have progressed very nicely there. However, I did not take any real notes with people. And instead, what I did is I relied on business cards. And I also relied on the Whova app, the conference app. I thought between those two things, I'm going to have all the connecting information that I desire. Well, I was wrong. It was a train wreck. In fact, I'm looking over my left shoulder right now, and I'll count them here. Check this out. I'm going to pull this up here. Let's see here. Here's a card for James Woosley. Haven't reached out to James once. Robert Riggs, haven't reached out to him once. Let's see here. The guy who has the Frenemies podcast, haven't reached out to him once. The guy, Roy Kirshner, haven't reached out to him once. Natasha Tynes, nothing. Kristen Graham, nothing. Russ Hedge, nothing. Terry Brock, Terry and I go way back, and I haven't reached out to him. There's another one from the Frenemies guy. Deb Fester, her card is coming apart. I'm not even sure of her last name. I know Terry Gingras. Gingras anyway. Joy Peterson. By the way, I haven't reached out to her. GM Potts, haven't reached out to him, and I have reached out to Brad Mott. So out of a stack of business card, there are 3 names that I even recognize, and you know what? The 3 that I recognize, I already had a relationship with them before I went to that conference. All these other people, I remember, by the way, the thing that I thought I would do is I'm only going to put business cards into my left pocket if this is somebody that I really feel I want to connect with further. But you know what? I didn't have any of my other special notes to go along with them. And so by the time I got home, and then I came down with some mild case of the flu or something. But I came home, I was sick for a couple of days, and by the time I sat down here to go through those business cards, other than the 3 names that I just told you that I recognize, I couldn't I couldn't remember a single thing, not one personal detail about any of those individuals other than what's on their business card. Now, sure, I could look up their websites, their podcasts, and all this other stuff. And in some cases, I did that. There were several other business cards, and there were a couple of people. And like I said, I've reached out to a few where I did recognize them. And something stood out enough for that to happen. But let me share with you what I used to do when I went to a conference before this PodFest Expo. But actually, I should even go far as to say what I used to do at conferences before COVID. Because, I've been to a handful of conferences since COVID, and I've not reintroduced this. But that is changing this year in a very significant way. And so I want to share with you what I've done. This has always worked amazingly for me. In fact, I have a document for every conference I've ever been to where after each day, I downloaded all of my notes into a document per conference, and I could tell you the 10, 15, 30, 40 people that I met throughout the days of those conferences. I could also tell you what day, what time, where I met them. I could tell you a bullet point list of nearly all of the main things that they shared with me and all of their contact information. And not only that, but I also had a photo of me with that person and a photo of their conference badge that had their name on it just in case. So what I would do This is the old version, and I'm going to share with you what I hope will be a modern version of this. So the old version of this would be that I would go to the conference, I'd be walking down the hallway, and all of a sudden somebody would stop me and we'd have a conversation. Let's just presume that this is somebody that I'm meeting for the very first time. Hey, Cliff, oh my gosh, so good to meet you and see you. Hey, I've been listening to your podcast for a while. I first discovered you when blah, blah, blah. And you know what? The reason why it really stuck out to me is because back at that time, I was struggling with fill in the blank. And I've always wanted to fill in the blank, but I've always had this problem, and this problem. And you know what really struck me is when I heard you say fill in the blank, and I've always been thinking about this. Hey, do you mind if I ask you this question? I'd love to ask, I know you get paid to coach, but I'd love to just ask you for your feedback on this, XYZ. So we would go on. This would be a 20-minute conversation. It could be a 40-minute conversation. It could go on for a while. Here's what I will share with you. What's going on is I'm fully present, fully engaged with this person. And here's what I would do immediately upon the conclusion of that conversation. I would say, hey, do you mind if I take a selfie with you? And so far, every single person I've ever had a conversation with has always said, yes, I'd love that. So what I did is I took a selfie with that individual. And then I said, hey, do you mind if I take a picture of your name badge so I can make sure that I don't confuse you with anybody else that I meet here at the event? And so those two photos in my photo roll in my phone are side by side with one another. Then I asked them this question. Hey, would you like me to text this photo to you? And so far, crazily enough, everyone has said yes to that. So what I do is I open up my messages app and I say, okay, what's your phone number? And I type in their phone number and then I attach the photo, I type in my name and I hit send. And then I go in and hit add contact. And then I say, okay, how do you spell your last name? And I put their name in and all that other stuff. And now I have a selfie with this individual. I have their name. I have the photo of their conference badge, and I have all these bullet points. And it's like, man, it's so great to meet you. I really want to tell you that I hope that goes well. Will you reach out to me in a couple of weeks? You've got my cell phone number now. Feel free to text me. Let me know how that goes for you. And then boom, that connection has taken place. So let's just say it's been about 40 minutes, from when I first bumped into this individual in the hallway. What I would do is next, I would duck into a corner somewhere so I don't accidentally bump into another impromptu conversation. And what I do is I open up a document and I paste in the photos that I just took, the photo of the selfie, the photo of their conference badge, and then I type in their name. I type in their contact information from my phone. And then below that, I begin a bullet point list. And from memory, I try to recall everything I can think from the top of my mind. What did I just learn about this person? They said this, they shared this, they said this, they shared that. And so anyway, it was just phenomenal. And then I would walk down the hallway and I would just keep doing this over and over again. Sometimes it gets a little bit crazy when I go to a place where we're at a meetup or a networking party and I'm like working with 4 or 5 people in a circle and there's all sorts of conversation going back and forth. Yet I attempt to do the same. I try to get those people's names and badges, taking photos, selfies, all the stuff. And there's a lot more bullet point things to try to remember. I don't necessarily get it all, but I try my best. And then once I get out of that little circle, once that's concluded, I go hide in a corner somewhere and download all of that into a single document that has all of these notes. So this has been my process over the years. And what takes the most amount of time is what takes the most amount of time is the typing everything in, putting it all into the note. Now, when I went to social media marketing world last year, I also did not go in and do this process. I wish I would have. There were so many powerful conversations that I had, but I went in with a completely different method last year where I booked 90-minute sessions with a lot of different people. And so I have a lot of information about the time I spent with each of those individuals, but I have nothing of all the short little hallway conversations like I just told you about. It definitely had a lot of positive benefit for the people that I connected with deeply and I gave sessions to at the conference. But this year I decided I'm not going to actually do 90-minute sessions with people at the conference. I'm going to focus on these deep relational connections, and I'm going to go back to this method of note-taking on everything. Now, last year, I went and I purchased this thing called the Plaud. Let me say that again. I purchased something called the Plaud, Plaud, note pen. It's one of those wearable devices. When you buy the note pen from Plaud, it comes with an ugly necklace. You can wear it around as a pendant. It comes with a ugly looking fitness looking band, and it looks like a Fitbit, but it's got a bright white plastic wristband. Let's see here. It's got a magnet on it, so you can clip it onto your shirt, through the shirt with a magnet. All of this stuff, and you could just tap it. There are a couple of things about it, though. There was no place to put that pin that didn't look awkward or potentially give something to where it felt uncomfortable if somebody were to see it. So the question is, oh my gosh, is Cliff recording this conversation? Is this being recorded? And now I could record things with a number of different apps on my phone, but that is not what I want to do. I could use the Just Press Record app, and it will transcribe my notes into there. There are other tools such as Voice Memo from Apple. I could use that. There are a number of different places where I could record voice things, but I wanted to have a separate device that has the ability to record that's separate from my phone. Because there are some occasions where I might meet someone and we're having a conversation and I can say, hey, question for you. Before we go any further, do you mind if I record this so that I can take the recording, transcribe it, and put it in my notes and follow up with you later about what we're having a conversation here? And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be great. And so I would like to then be able to pull a device like the Note Pen, which I had before, and hit the record button and have it record. The only thing is that I did not want to have this device on my wrist as a wristband. I did not want to have it as a pendant hanging from a necklace, and I did not want to have it pinned to my shirt or my badge or anything like that. So I chose not to really use this device much at all at Social Media Marketing World last year. Well, they also have a Plaud device that was even available before the Note Pen, and it was this little credit card thin device that comes with a MagSafe wallet that you basically slide it into. I just dropped it on the floor, by the way. There we go. Just picked it up. Anyway, I was really aggressively playing with the back of the MagSafe wallet. Anyway, so there's this device, and it has these sensitive speakers on it, and it can stick right to your phone. I should have purchased that device, although I guess looking back, hindsight is 2020, and I'm glad that I didn't, because since then they came out with a more advanced version of this called the Plod Note Pro. And this year, getting ready for Social Media Marketing World 2026, I've decided I do want to have an AI recording note-taking device. Not so that I can have it on all the time, but so that I can judiciously use it whenever I desire. So one of the things that I did, well, first of all, I went ahead and bought the new Pro version. I think it was like $190. And once I got it, I've been playing with it, and I've been using it for far more than I thought that I would. Now, this is something where it records, it's a separate device, and it syncs all of the recordings from the device into the app, the Plod app on your phone. That's all wonderful. It's pretty much the same as the Plod Note Pen. Couple of things about that Note Pen is that it was not always, I didn't feel confident that I knew that it was recording versus not recording. Did I accidentally tap it and it's recording when it shouldn't be recording? And also, it didn't always seem like the recordings were transferring fast enough, and it was just not a great experience. I still have that device. It's in my backpack. I don't know that I'll ever use it again. But the Plod Note Pro, I have been using nonstop for over a week now, and I love it. A couple of things about this device, now that I'm talking about it. It has the ability, the Plod Note Pro, it has a battery enough to record anywhere between 30 to 50 hours worth of content continuously if you wanted it to. Now, I'm not a continuous recorder. However, I will sometimes have like a business meeting where Stephanie and I are talking about things that we want to accomplish related to our business. And I'll say, hey, let me pull out the recorder here. And we're having a face-to-face conversation, and that Plod Note Pro is recording the whole thing. And afterwards, I click a little button. It automatically transfers over into my app. I click a little button, it goes and transcribes it and then summarizes it. You need to have either the included number of minutes that are available when you first purchase it. They give you a certain number of minutes. Then after that, you can buy minutes extra, or you can sign up for an unlimited plan. And the unlimited plan is $20 a month if you pay annually. That's $240 a year. And my own personal experience, my own use case, hands down, beyond the shadow of a doubt, it's worth $240 a year for the functionality that it has. Because while I have a Plus account to ChatGPT, it basically has the ability to tap into Claude, ChatGPT, and a bunch of other advanced models. And it has the ability to do all your prompts and all of the different, you can have these different prompts that you can apply, and it'll automatically choose the right prompt if you wanted to do it automatically, or you can customize them and all this other stuff. But the fact that it's going out and it's transcribing it, another thing it's doing is it's actually discerning different speakers and labeling the speakers. You can go in and name the speakers, and the next time you have a conversation with that person, their voice is recognized and it labels them correctly. There's so many different things about the way the Plod system is doing it within the Plod system. It just works, and it's convenient enough. It would be possible for somebody to buy a Plod Note Pro, $190, have the ability to record as much audio as you want. It'll automatically sync, and if you want to, you could just export the audio files out of the app, and then you could upload them to your own transcription service, and you could do your own prompting, and you wouldn't have to have an extra fee. And I'm sure you could even find ways to automate that. Again, for me, it's worth $240 to not have to even think about that, just to let it do its thing. And quite frankly, they have a community of prompts that are pretty wild, better than what I would have come up with on my own. But anyway, I digress. So now I have this Plod Note Pro, and I want to share with you exactly how I intend to use this moving forward. So one of the things that I am going to do is I am going to go to social media marketing world. I'm going to bump into somebody and I'm going to start having a conversation with them. And as soon as I walk away from them, I'm immediately going to press this little button, say, hey, I just had a conversation with Joe Smith. And Joe said that he recently found me as a result of being a guest on so-and-so's podcast. And he said what really stood out to him was this. And I'll just do all of that bullet point list of all of the things that I said. However, I'm not typing it onto the little keyboard on my phone. I am just speaking it loudly, quickly, everything. And by the way, I just took a selfie here, and I can confirm the name is spelled such and such, and the date. Well, maybe it's not obvious. I will tell you that the device is recording. The minute you hit record, it timestamps the recording, and of course, I can sync up those timestamps with the photo. Where the timestamp of the photos. So anyway, the idea is that I could actually go through my day and have these conversations. I'm taking my selfie, taking a picture of their conference badge, hitting the record button on my Note Pro, talking into it, and then hitting stop, and then move on, and I'm already ready for the next conversation. I don't need to do anything else. And then at the end of the day, or when I get home after several days of this, I will have all of these recordings, and it will automatically transcribe them. It'll automatically format them based upon a prompt that I will give it. And I can then copy and paste all of that into a conference note, which I would have done anyway, and I'll drag and drop from my Photos app from my desktop into the Note app all of those photos. So essentially what I will do is I will probably save about an hour to an hour and a half of note-taking over the course of 3 days of this conference. That alone is worth $240 for the year if I used it for nothing else. So that's how I intend to document the people that I'm connecting with. As you can just imagine, I have that bullet point list of all of those details, and most of those people, I'm going to have their contact information in my phone where I've sent them a picture of our selfie together. And just imagine within a couple of hours or a couple of days, and certainly within a couple of weeks of the conference, I'm reaching out to you with very specific items that you and I chatted about and asking how things are going. And those conversations may just reveal something that says, an invitation might be something valuable here. That is the Plod Note Pro. That is what I purchased. I purchased the black one. It's there. I do not intend to walk around, hit the record button, and let it record the entire day, every day of the conference. Could it do that? Yes. Is that something that I would want to do? No. I think that there's too many people that are privacy conscious that would be freaked out if they learned that you were doing that. Also, it depends on what state, on whether or not you need permission anytime we're recording. I do not intend to use it for that purpose, but exactly how I stated, that is exactly what I wanted this for. And I can't begin to tell you how excited I am about it. Now, I will share with you what I have been doing. Some of you may remember Star Trek. All right. In Star Trek, they would do something called Captain's Log or engineering log. People would record and dictate into the computer their experiences. This is, hey, here's my log. This is what's happened. I'm telling you what's going on here. And they would say it's this date. So one of the things that I've been doing is I get up in the morning and I say, okay, I'll hit the little record button. I say, it is 4:57 a.m. on Sunday, April 5th, 2026. I've been up since 4:30 this morning, and I had this on my mind. I remember having this dream about this, and I remember feeling this way about it. As I prepare for my day today, one of the things that I immediately became aware of is that what I was working on yesterday came to mind. And as soon as that topic came up, I started to feel this way in my physical body. And I felt like it was like this is a continuation of how that felt right in that moment. What I chose to do is just to take it off my mind right now, and I plan to process that later today. But right now, what I'm looking to do is change my focus on the morning routine that I'm about ready to do. Here's my intentions for this morning. Here are a couple of big items that I know that are on my plate today. I'll work out the rest later. Anyway, that's all I have for now. And then I'll hit stop. And that's like my morning log. And then and one of the things is that each of these recordings gets synced to the app, and it automatically goes in a file called unfiled. Then at other parts in the day, it's like, okay, I'll hit the button. It is now 9:38 a.m. And I just finished having breakfast. This is what I had for breakfast today. And earlier, I was watching this video on YouTube. And what really stood out to me was this, and this. It got me to thinking about this situation that happened yesterday. And as I process this is what I want to do. So one of the action items is I intend to fill in the blank. Now, I'll just stop there, and I'll hit stop. Then I'll move on, and I'll okay, it is 11:25 a.m. I just finished doing my email inbox, and I also processed all of my projects that are my calendar items for the day. I've got the day planning done. Here are the meetings that I'm committed to today. Here are the other action items that I'm going to do. By the way, in my journaling this morning, this is what stood out to me. Just random things, details. Sharing as much as I desire into this little device. And then I just hit stop. And I do this at random places throughout the day. It's like, you know what? It's, okay, it is 12:04 p.m. And I just finished my morning here. My next call is not until 1 o'clock. I'm going to go lay down for a 20-minute nap. And that might be like a 7-minute log. And I'll do this throughout the day, right? All the way. It's like I just got off the call with it's now 2:35 p.m. I just got off of a coaching session with Fill in the Blank. It was amazing. Here's what I really loved about this. This is what I was thinking before I went into the call, but here's what I discovered in the call. And this is what I just had this insight. And this reminds me that when I'm inviting people, I need to think about I need to think about things. And I'm having this shift in perspective. This thing here, this is leading to this. And I want to do more of this all throughout the day. And so checking in, and I might actually create anywhere as few as 4 or 5 of these recordings in a single day. I might record as many as 12 to 14 of them in a single day. And they could be as short as 4 to 7 seconds. They could be as long as 4 to 7 minutes, or even longer if I really want to go in and explore some things and share some things. Then as I'm going throughout the day, one of the things I can do in the Plot app is I can highlight multiple of these individual files, and I can click a little button that says merge all of these files together. And once they're merged, if I do it in the Plot app on my iPhone, it says, do you want to delete the originals? And I say, yes, delete the originals. Now, instead of having all of these files, I've got this one merged file. And so as I'm adding new files throughout the day, I tend to actually go in and merge those files. And so but what I'll do is the next morning, my practice all week this week is sometime during the morning, I will go in and take yesterday's daily log. It has been merged into a single file. So let's just say there were 13 different individual files that have been merged into a single file. The first recording every day is the time of day, and I say the entire date. And then every subsequent recording starts with "it is," and then I insert the time of day. And then I just talk. And then what happens is all of that is in one single file. It gets transcribed word for word, exactly like that. And then it will run it over a prompt. And I have a prompt that is a daily prompt, and it is intense how amazing my daily log prompt is, and how detailed it is, and how specific. And it basically produces exactly the result that I want. And it starts off, and it's formatted beautifully in Markdown, which makes it easy for me to go into my Notion journal. And I start a new journal entry, and I say daily log for yesterday, Saturday, April 4th, 2026. And then I go over to Plot, and I copy that note, and I paste it. And it starts with the day of the week, or the day of the month, and or day of the week, day of the month, and all of the stuff. It's got the full date. And then it breaks it down into headings where every timestamp is its own heading. And then under each timestamp is a list of bullet points that are not interpretive. They are exact summaries of almost word for word what I spoke into the recorder. It's made concise and to the point. It's cleaned up, but it is essentially faithful to exactly what I shared. Bullet point. Every little detail is its own bullet point for each of those timestamps. And it goes all the way throughout the end to the end of the day. Then below all of the time-stamped, checked-in, bulleted items and summary of my day, there is a section called Insights. Now, this is where I give the AI tool in the prompt a little bit of opportunity to interpret what are some of the insights that I can deduce from what I experienced today. And I've been reading these every morning about the day before, and I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then there's a final section at the bottom. It says, any action items to consider. And then it basically has heard all of the things that I said throughout the day, and it gives me a significant list of potential action items to add to my, to-do list, project list, whatever I'm calling it at any given season of my life. And all of a sudden it's like, and by the way, I'm specifically, hey, I want to make sure that this shows up as an action item. And it puts it in that section. And oh man, this is so amazing. So every morning I'm looking through the log, I'm reading the summary. Oh, and by the way, not only do I copy the summary from the AI prompt in my journal entry, but below it, I also copy the actual transcript and paste it into my log. Then I go over to my Chat GPT and I say, hey, here's the transcript of my entire daily log from yesterday. Tell me what you think about this. And of course, my Chat GPT and I know how we work together, the kind of feedback and stuff that I'm looking for, and all of this other stuff. And it's like, hey, based upon this, here are some patterns that I'm seeing, especially giving, what we've, now that we've got all of your daily logs from this past week. Here are some patterns. Here are some things that I think are that shows the direction that you're heading and the momentum that you're building towards what it is your current focus is to do XYZ. Here's a couple of areas where I want to point out to you some things that you might want to be aware of. Not that these things are wrong, of course, the whole contract's wrong, but because, being aware of them helps you prepare better for the future. And it's doing such an amazing thing for helping me stay conscious, aware, present in the moment, and also capturing things that I might have otherwise not captured. Now, I've been doing this faithfully for just over 1 week, and it is amazing. I've always been an avid journaler. I am even on top of this, still doing my morning pages several days a week. I just love this as an added practice. And if it weren't for going to conferences and the intention that I had for purchasing this for a conference, I would have thought the Plod Note Pro would have been worthy of the $240 for the annual unlimited plan and the $190 it cost for the device just for my daily log use. But the fact that I'm going to be able to use it to take all of these notes at this conference, to think that I could actually hit record if I sit in on a session and have it take notes and summarize a session and potential takeaways and action items I might want to consider. The fact that I can record business meetings and other face-to-face meetings, and also there is a desktop app that it can also record your calls when you jump on a Google Meet, a Zoom call, or any other type of call that you do online. It is all around amazing. And it's not nearly as limited in its use as what I originally purchased it for. That's something that I'm super excited about. All of that, my Plod Note Pro. You know what? I will put a link to this in Amazon. It'll be an affiliate link if you're interested in buying one. If you have any questions about it, feel free to let me know. My email address is cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Real quickly, last week I talked about my invitation engine. If you don't know what that is, you could go back to the episode right before this. I think that was episode 815. I just want to let you know there are now 14 people who are scheduled in my calendar for the next 2 weeks. These are people who are potential clients, although they are all complimentary coaching experiences, and there is no expectation or any obligation that any of them will become a paid client. But out of the 14, my history shows me that it's fairly likely that 7 of them will become a paid client within the next 30 days. It's just statistically how things have worked out. Not that I'm tied to who those 7 will be, or that actually that will continue, but predictably, it just seems to be the numbers always kind of come out that way. Anyway, 14 people who are scheduled over the next 2 weeks. 5 of them I've already given 1 session to and have been invited to a second. And then there are 8 more people who have responded to my invitation saying, yes, Cliff, I'm definitely interested in having a complimentary coaching session with you. And we're just pending that's being scheduled. So that's 8 different people. These are people who are like, hey, I'm getting ready to go out of town on a family trip, and I will be in touch with you in probably about 2 weeks. And some of them have said, hey, Cliff, I just want to let you know I'm on my way home from a trip, and I will probably be right around midweek. I will get this on my calendar. And then there are 16 more invitations that have been out. And I only have 5 spots available. So there's 8 people who have already said yes, who are waiting to schedule. And there's only 5 slots available. And I've got 16 more people that I've invited already. So now it just becomes, managing that influx. But the invitation engine that I talked about last week is astonishing, and it's shifting everything. I am super excited, as I just mentioned, about Social Media Marketing World. It is coming up in 3 weeks. It's in Anaheim, California. If you are going to be at Social Media Marketing World, please let me know. I definitely want to touch base face-to-face with you while I am there. That's going to be Tuesday, April 28th through Thursday, April 30th. If you have not purchased a ticket by then, or yet, I'll put an affiliate link where you can buy a ticket to Social Media Marketing World. It'll be in the show notes. My workshop that I'm teaching, it's a 90-minute workshop on podcasting. That is going to be on, Tuesday the 28th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So it is a basic, here's what a podcast is. I'm going to share with you the foundations of a podcast, but I'm going to share with you how you can create a podcast that generates trust and creates significant influence to your personal brand, your marketing message. It is going to be an amazing 90-minute workshop. I'm super excited about it. Been working on the slides for that for the last week, and I should have those all at least pretty much done by the end of the day tomorrow. I need to submit that to them. Obviously, I as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to probably be tweaking little bits and pieces here and there, but it's going to be amazing. One of the things that I did is I changed my flight home from Social Media Marketing World from Saturday over to Sunday because Michael Stelzner and I, and potentially some other members of our Green Room Mastermind group, are going to spend the day together at Disneyland on, let's see here. Did I just say that was Friday? You know what? Yeah, Friday. Oh, goodness. My days are all mixed up here. So let me just look real fast. Today, there we go. I need to look at my weeks. That's what it is. All right. So I changed my flight from Friday. I was going to fly home on Friday, and I changed it to Saturday. That's what I meant to say. Because on Friday, May 1st, Michael Stelzner, myself, and maybe a few other members of our Green Room Mastermind group are going to be hanging out in Disneyland on Friday, May 1st. And that is going to be wild. What an incredible way to end the week in California and Social Media Marketing World. And so, super delighted for all of that. Where is my notes here as far as things to share? Just to let you know, a couple of other items that are coming up. Is this still recording? Yeah, it is. Oh, wow. I've been going for over an hour. I have agreed to speak at the Empowered Podcasting Conference, and I will have more information about that in the very near future. I also have agreed to speak at something called, I think it's called PodFest, or I know it's just called Pod Indie. That's what it's called, Pod Indie. And I will have more details on that in the future once I have them. I'm definitely planning on attending Social Media Week Lima. I am also planning to go to Podcast Movement NYC, whether I'm speaking or not. And I have two other events that I haven't reached out to the organizer yet, but I'm very seriously considering. I have full intentions of attending those. And once I've talked to the people who are hosting those events, I'll be able to share more about that publicly. But I am fully back in the game. Podcast Answer Man coming back has been one of the greatest decisions. Wow, has that been awesome. My focus has been on finding content creators who are also business owners on the entrepreneurial journey, whether they're established entrepreneurs, which I already have an active mastermind group ready to go for them. We already are meeting on a weekly basis, and it's been phenomenal. And also going to be launching a new next level mastermind group for early stage entrepreneurs. If you are interested in either of those and you want to talk to me about that, I'd probably bring you through the Prosperous Coach Method to suss out whether or not this would be a good fit for you. So if you're interested in a complimentary one-on-one 90-minute full experience of my coaching, email me today, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. I will make a spot available for everyone who wants to work with me. But the earlier that you get in touch with me, the earlier you and I could be chatting. Again, my email address, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.
Podcast. Answer Man.